Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. And tonight we're going to begin chapter 4 of the Satyanarayana Vrat Katha. And it's on page 130. And everybody, if you have your books, please, it's on page 230. Please come and chant with us. Om Bhur Swaha, Om Bhula Swaha, Om Swaha Swaha, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Swaha, Atha Chaturtho Adhyaya Sutavacha Swaha, Yatrantu Kritabam Sadur, Mangalayana Purdikam, Brahmanevyo Danandatvam, Tadatu Nagaranya Swaha, Kiya Dure Kate Sado, Satyanarayana Prabhu, Chigyasan Kritavan Sado, Kimasti Tavanokstitam Swaha, Tato Mahachano Mato, Helayacha Prakashyabhe, Katam Pichasti Bodandin, Mudrande tum kimistasi swaha, Lata patradikam cheva, Bhartate tarano mamam, Nishtram cha pacha hasrita, Satyam bhavatu te pacha swaha, Eva mutva kataha shigram, Dandi tasyasmi patam, Kiya duram tato gatva, stita sadhu samipata swaha, Kate dandini sadhuscha, Krita nitya kriyastada, Utitam tarining drishtva, Vismayam paramam yagyo swaha, Drishtva ladadikam cheva, Murchito nyapapu bhadubi, Labda sanya bani putras, Tataschintan habito papatsva, Tadatu dukitu kanto, Bachanan chedama brabit, Kimatan priyate shoka, Shapo datascha dandinasva, Shakate tina sarvanghi, Kartum chatran sangchayaha, Atasta charanam yamo, Panchitarto parishati sva, Janmatur vachanam shritva, Tatsakasham gadastada, Drishtvacha dandinam natva, Bhakya provacha sadaram sva, Kshamasya chaparadame, Yaduktam tabandasanito, Evam punar natva, Mahashoka bulo papatsva, Provacha pachanam dandi, Vilapantang vilopyacha, Moha embado arodi srinu tabakyam, Mama puja bakir mukatsva, Mama kya kya dubute, Labdandukam bakur bakur, Tatutvam Bhagavan Bhakyam, Stuti Kartu Samudhyata Swaha, Sadhuravacha Swaha, Tvatmaya Bhokita Sarve, Pamavyastri Divi Kosasam, Najanati Gunan Rupam, Tavashtar Gyamitham Prabhasva, Muram Chatvam Tyatam Jane, Moitastava Maya, Pasida Pujayishyami, Yadhabi Bhavavistare Swaha, Pura Vitam Chatatsarvam, Trakimam Saranagatam, Srutva Bhakti Utam Bhakyam, Puritushto Janardana Swaha, Varamcha Panchitam Datvam, Tatre Bhanta Dade Tato Na Pansamaruja, Drishtva Vita Prapuritam Svan Kripaya Satyadevasya Sapalam Panchitamabam Idyutva Svajani Sardam Pujadam Kritva Yatavidesva Harshina Chababat Purna Satyadeva Prasadata Nabam Sanyojya Satyena Swadesha Gamanam Kritam Sva Sri Satyanarayana Bhagavan Ki Jai. Chapter 4, Sutta continued his story. After they had traveled a part of their journey, the Lord decided to test them. Pariksha. In the form of a monk, he asked them, "What cargo do you have in your ship?" Insolently, they replied, "We have nothing in our ship but leaves and rubbish." "So be it," replied the monk, and walked away. Evamastu. Let it be so unto you. When the merchants looked inside their ship, they found that, in fact, there was nothing but leaves and rubbish. They cried in agony over their loss, whereupon the son-in-law suggested that their loss was caused by the insult to that great monk. They ran in search of him, and when they found him, they prayed for the restoration of their wealth. The Lord, in the form of that monk, explained to them that they must fulfill their promise to God, without which there will be no end to their miseries. The merchants realized that all of their difficulties came as a consequence of their failure to perform the Satyanarayana worship by speaking and acting in truth. There they told a lie to that monk. The sadhu came and said, "What do you got?" And he said, "I won't tell him. He was going to say, 'Give it to me.' He may ask for some of it. I'm not going to tell him how much I have. Why should I tell him? We've got nothing but leaves and rubbish. Tatastu, that's what you got." And when they understood that all their difficulties came as a consequence of their failure to perform the Satyanarayana worship by speaking and acting in truth, praying for forgiveness, they once again renewed their vow to perform the Satyanarayana puja as soon as they returned to their home, and to always tell the truth. The monk blessed them, and returning to their ship, they found all their wealth had been restored. So greatly did they praise God. Sri Satyanarayana Bhagavan Ki Jai. Now, in verse 18, the last part of verse 18 says, Pujam Kritva Yathabidi. And now I promise you, Pujam Kritva Yatabidi, I promise you that we will fulfill our vow. We will do the puja according to the system of worship. We won't leave any part of it out. We're not stopping until it's complete, perfect, complete, full, complete, perfect. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate. It's full, complete, and perfect, and then we can think about the next step in our lives. And Jathabidi, just as it's written in the scriptures, just as it's proclaimed. Now let's go on in the story. Sadhur Janmataram Taha Pashya Ratnapurim Mama Dutancha Preshayamasa Nijavistasya Rakshakam Sva Tatoso Nagarangatva Sadur Bharyam Vilokyacha Pravacha Banchitam Bhakyam Natva Padam Jalastita Sva Nikate Nagarasyeva Chamatra Sakito Vanik Agato Bandhu Bargaischa Vitaischa Dakudir Gita Svaha Srutva Duta Mukha Vakyam Maharshabati Sati Satipujam Tata Kritva Pravacha Tanujam Prati Sva Brajami Shri Gramagachaha Sandhu Sandarshanaya Cha Iti Matri Vacha Kasrutva Pratangritva Samapyacha Sva Prasadang Chaprityajya Katha Sakhi Kati Prati Tena Rushta Satyadevo Brataram Taranim Tata Sva Sangritya Chatani Sadar Chaleta Shava Manjakat Tahakalabati Kanya Na Bilokya Nichampati Svaha Shokina Makata Tatra Rudati Chapapadhavi Trisva Tata Vitam Nyatva Kanyam Chapaku Dukitam Sva Vitena Panasa Sadhu Himaschar Yamidam Bhaved Chintamanascha Te Sabe Babuvustari Bhakaka Sva Tato Lila Bhati Kanyam Visvasa Bhakala Bhabat Bila Lala Pati Stukeda Pataram Chedama Pravit Sva Itani No Kaya Sadar Katang So Bhuta Lakshita Jani Kasya Devasya Hilaya Cheva Sarita Sva Satya Devasya Mahatmyam Katumva Ke Nasakyate Yatva Vilabha Pristava Tatasya Svajane Sakasva Tato Lila Pati Kanyam Krode Kritva Virodaka Tata Kalavati Kanyam Nashte Swamini Dukita Sva Grihotva Paduke Tasya Nugrantang Chamadodate Kanya Yascharite Satam Sishva Sabarya Sajno Ganitsva Atishoki Dasantasta Chintaya Masadanvit Ritanga Satyadevena Prantoam Satmaya Sva Satyapujan Krishyami Yatavi Bhavavistre Iti Sarvam Samahuya Katayitva Maturatam Sva Natva Chadante Babubo Satavi Bam Punapura Tataskrishta Satyadevo Dinanam Paripalaka Sva Jagada Bhachanan Chevaram Kripaya Bhaktavatsala Tyaktva Prasadam Te Kanya Pating Dristum Samagata Sva Ato Drishto Abhattasya Kanyakaya Pratir Dhuvam Priyangatva Prasadam Cha Kutva Samayati Che Punasva Labdabhatri Sutta Sado Bhavishati Nasamsaka Kanyaka Tadisham Bhakyam Sutta Gagana Mandalat Sva Chipam Tadakti Hangatva Prasadam Cha Bhagojasam Tapasya Punaragatyam Tadasha Sruchanam Pati Sva Tata Kalabati Kanyam Chagada Pitaram Prati Idaning Chakriyam Yaki Pilambam Kurushe Tatam Sva Tachutva Kanyaka Bhakyam Santushto Buddha Niksutam Pujanam Satyadevasya Kritabidi Vitanata Sva Durbhatu Ganesadam Chagamani Jamandaram Purnamasya Sankranto Kritavansyatya Pujanam Sva Iyaloke Sukam Bhuktva Chante Satya Puranya Sva Iti Sri Skanda Purani Revakandi Sri Satyanarayana Vrat Katha Am Chaturtho Adhyaya Swa Om Shwa, Bhua, Swa, 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 Bhua, Swa, Swa. As soon as their ship came into their home port, they sent word to their wives of their arrival. Both Leelavati and Kalavati were busy performing the Satyanarayana Puja at the time, and hurriedly completing their worship, they ran to the dock to greet their husbands, forgetting to partake of the prasad. Remember Jata Vidhi. Just as it's written in the scripture, we're going to do it fully and completely and perfectly, and we're not going to leave anything left to the imagination. We're going to do it completely. When they reached the sea, they saw Sadhu, Leelavati's husband, but they couldn't find the ship or Kalavati's husband. In great despair, Kalavati prayed to Lord Satyanarayan for forgiveness for any mistakes. Shama Shwa. In the midst of her prayer, she heard a voice that said that her problem was caused by her negligence of the prasad from the offering to the Lord. You didn't complete the worship. It's not done until you distribute the prasad. Hearing this, Kalavati immediately ran back to her home, ate the prasad, and returned once again to the dock at the sea. When she arrived, she found her husband and the ship, and all glorified the Lord Satyanarayan. Shri Satyanarayan Bhagavan Ki Jai! Then they all returned home, and every month they performed the puja to Lord Satyanarayan. And every day in between every month. They lived in peace and comfort throughout their lives and ultimately attained to the divine abode of Lord Satyanarayan. Here ends the 4th chapter. Sri Satyanarayan Bhagavan Ki Jai! So the merchant learned his lesson, and he truly became sadhu. And every month he performed the puja which ratified and verified the vow to perform the puja every day throughout his life. I don't think he'll ever tell any old monk, hey, I'm just a poor beggar and I only have leaves and rubbish in my ship. He wouldn't have occasion to say that ever again. Do we have any questions?
Swamiji, I have a question. On page 235, it says that the Lord decided to test the sadhu.
Yes.
We believe that Lord is omniscient and knows everything. Why does God have to test us? And isn't it true that every moment is a test and we have to pass or fail at this because every moment we have to remember God?
Yes. It is very true. However, why do our teachers test their students? It isn't so the teacher knows how good the student is doing. It's really so the student knows how good the student is doing and where they have to work in order to improve themselves. So when God decides to test us, it isn't because he doesn't know where we're at. God decides to test us so that we know where we're at. And then we get inspiration, information, know the areas in which we have to work. We have understanding of where our shortcomings are, where our strengths lie. And we know in which way we can most effectively progress in our study. And our study in the course of life. Yes, it is true that every day and every moment is a test. But there's a very beautiful proverb in the Ramayana. It says, Duk pochisikkha, sukh pochiprikha. And it means all of our pains is a classroom. And all of our joys pleasures is the examination. It's very easy to remember God when you're in pain. In fact, other than the pain, God is the only one you can think of. Who's going to take away the pain? But is it possible, is it so much easy to remember God in pleasure? That's the examination, is the pleasure. The pain is the teaching. The pleasure is the examination. So now life goes through a series of classrooms. And we're constantly learning and giving the examination. And learning and giving the examination. And some of us keep repeating the same class over and over and over again. And there are a few brilliant individuals among us still who are graduating to the next chapter, step by step. And that's the objective, of course, is that in pain we remember God. Everyone can do that. That's not much of an achievement. Can we remember him in pleasure? Or do we say, gee, I did this? I'd like to tell you a story. Do you mind if I just tell you a short story? There was a Brahmin, and he was taking care of a beautiful temple in the mountains. And he designed the garden around the temple. And it was just beautiful. One day, a neighbor's cow strayed into his garden and started eating all the flowers. That Brahmin got so mad. He said, I worked so hard on making this a beautiful monument of my love to God. And here this neighbor can't even keep his cow out of my garden. And he picked up a stick and he started to beat that cow and got out of my garden. And the cow fell over and died. And he was shocked. He was guilty of gohatya, which is mahapataka. It's a great sin, a grievous crime against all the principles. Bathe, the go, pratima, sevi. It's the principles of Hinduism to protect the cows. And here he was, this Brahmin accused of gohatya. And the Brahmin thought to himself, well, I didn't really kill the cow. I had no intention of killing the cow. That the hand held the stick killed the cow, and Indra rules the hand. And so therefore, Indra is responsible for killing that cow. And when all the people came to ask him about killing the cow, he said, I didn't kill the cow, Indra killed the cow. I am not guilty. You take your complaint to Indra. Now when Indra heard this, he took on the disguise of an old sannyasi. And he came to the temple and he said, oh, Brahmanji, can I worship in your temple? This is the most beautiful temple that I have ever seen. Look at this garden. Who could make a garden as beautiful as this? And the Brahmin said, well, actually, I did. And he said, look at the walkways, the way they go through the flowers, and their fountains, and there's so many figurines all around the garden. Who could place them so artistically? And the Brahmin said, I did. And Indra said, look at these flowers. Oh, look at how there's so many different varieties and so many colors, and they're so sweet, and the fragrance is so magnificent. Who attends to these flowers? And the Brahmin said, I did. And Indra said, well, Brahmanji, if you could make the temple and make it such a holy place, and you could make the walkways and make them so artistic, and you could make the flowers and make them blossom and bloom in their season, then why are you saying that I killed the cow? So, do we have any other questions?
Question from Kali from Barbados.
Namaste, Kalima.
If there is no one with whom to share the prasad of one's worship, what should we do?
You partake of it and then give it to all the beasts and animals and birds and insects of the world. You share it with all of nature. When we perform the Shraddha, the memorial service in respect, in honor of our departed relatives, we make 3 offerings. We make one offering at the altar for all the gods and goddesses. We make one offering in the fire for all the beings of heaven that we can't see, for the infinity of all the spiritual beings. And we make one offering in the forest for all the beings of nature. In the same way, if you've offered prasad, you get a little piece yourself and give the rest to all the needy beings of the world who will appreciate it.
Dilip from Florida is asking,
Namaste, Dilip.
Sadhu Reddy apologized for his negligence and promised to worship, but his daughter didn't take prasad, so the whole family had to suffer. Is it true that everyone should be absolutely sincere, or can one compensate for others?
Ideally, everyone in our world will be completely sincere and dedicated in the best of all worlds. However, Dilip, each of us has a bhakti dharma. Individually, we will know when we are doing our best. We will know when we have completed our karma fully, completely, and perfectly. And that's our objective. That's the goal towards which we strive. So, individually, we will try to reach the pinnacles of success as an individual, and as a family, and as a community, and as a world. Namaste, Karen. Namaste, Michael.
She's asking, this is probably a foolish question, but there were 2 women doing the puja, and neither finished by eating the prasad. One found her husband right away, but the other didn't, and had to go back and finish in order to find her husband. Why did that happen to both of them?
The daughter ate enough for the 2 of them. Yeah, actually, there's no explanation of that in the text. But it's sufficient to say that the family's karma was not completed. So the one woman went back and she heard the voice and she prayed for the mistakes. And it doesn't say whether they both didn't eat the prasad or just the one didn't eat the prasad and found her husband. So the one, Kalavati, the daughter, ran back into her home, ate the prasad, and then they all united as a family. I'm sorry, I don't know if I have a sufficient answer for that.
Usha from Canada.
Namaste, Ushama.
There seems to be this implication of punishment. Would it be better to see the calamity happening because the balance of things has been upset rather than being punished by God?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeking balance in every activity. Ushama, it's not that they're being punished because they didn't complete their puja. It's because the failure to complete the puja is the punishment. They are getting the prasad of their worship. If their worship is full and complete and perfect, they're going to get full and complete, perfect prasad. If there is something that remains to complete in the puja, how can they get full and complete and perfect prasad from their worship? It's the law of karma. And as they sow, so shall they reap. And it's not that you're being punished because you sowed the wrong seeds. You're just getting the fruit of your karma. And if we think of it as a punishment, then we're ignoring the lesson. We're blaming that he's being mad at me and he's being angry with me, and therefore I'm not getting full and complete, perfect fruits of my karma. Rather than saying, oh, the lesson is that I should be full and complete and perfect in my actions. Efficient, sadhu, means efficient. I should be a sadhu. And then when I perform my actions, I will get the full and complete, efficient result that I'm seeking. I don't think of it as punishment or shama. I'm sorry.
Nanda from San Jose is asking, dear Swamiji, how does one discriminate what is the actual lesson to be learned from a situation? Sometimes I think it's all just my interpretation.
Certainly, but interpret it in the most beneficial way so that you grow the most. And you grow in every dimension, not just around the middle. So now you want to grow from this. Every circumstance in life is the teaching. Now here's an opportunity for us to learn. And now we want to grow from this. And what will I change tomorrow? And what will I change about my behavior today because of the knowledge of the experience of yesterday? And how can I make it more refined and more efficient and more effective so I get what I'm looking to get? And do I know what I'm looking to get? Or am I just going out there in the field of life, in the field of action, Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra? Am I just going out there and saying, okay, come at me. What do you got for me today, life? Or do I have a plan and I have a goal and I have an objective and I'm trying to evolve a greater harmony in my circumstances through my affirmative action? Then it becomes very obvious what the lessons are that I can learn from this situation. Always eat the prasad. Don't worry about our waistline. Namaste, Nandama. Namaste, Kumari Ma.
What is the difference between a devotee and sadhu? Is sadhu the same as sannyasa? And is this the goal?
Oh, a devotee, first of all, a devotee is different from a disciple. Devotees praise the attainments of the gurus, but don't necessarily try to attain them themselves. They say, Guruji, you've done a wonderful thing with your life, and I respect that. But they generally go about business as they were before they met the guru. A disciple in Sanskrit is the term shishya. A shishya means a mirror. So when you look at the guru, you look at the disciple, you say one is the original and the other is the copy. One's the reflection and the other is the mirror. And the shishya says, I'm a disciple. I'm not only devoted to the guru's attainment, but because I'm so much devoted, I want to incorporate into my own life the values, the attitudes, the efficiency of the guru. Now, as a disciple becomes more and more reflective of the efficiency of the guru, he becomes or she becomes a sadhu. And a sadhu is someone who's efficient. Especially efficient at organizing their material life so that they have more time to spend in their spiritual life. And then more efficient in their spiritual life gives them greater command of their material life so that they have to go fewer and fewer times back to their material life to correct the old mistakes. You do it once and it's done full, complete, and perfect. And you don't have to go back and clean up the mess you left, because we will have to go back. Now, sadhus who are very efficient become an inspiration to others, and they become a sant. And a sant is almost like a saint, a teacher of sadhus. A sant oftentimes becomes a muhunt. And a muhunt is the main teacher of an ashram of sadhus. The muhunt who teaches in various ashrams becomes a mandaleshwar. He becomes the lord of a circle of teaching institutions. And someone who becomes the head of a mott becomes a Mahamandaleshwar. He becomes the director of several ashrams in his district, under his authority, or her authority. So this is how the bhakta becomes a shishya. And the shishya becomes a sadhu. The sadhu becomes a sant. The sant becomes a mahunt. The mahunt becomes a mandaleshwar. And the mandaleshwar becomes mahamandaleshwar. And then there's Shankaracharya. Because they divided the north, south, east, and west of India into 4 kshetras presided over by each by one Shankaracharya. But now, as we have global Hinduism, even in addition to the Shankaracharyas, there's Jagat Guru. And everybody knows that my guru is the Jagat Guru. And it's true for every disciple. For every shishya, my guru is the Jagat Guru. Now, that's the difference between a devotee and a sadhu. Yes, please, Ish.
On the club, in the chat, we've talked a lot about cultivating a relationship, even from people like in our worldwide family here.
Yes.
A relationship that's meaningful and that reflects the openness that a devotee starts to feel towards the disciple, towards the guru. In a case like this, maybe they've never met you or not, and yet they feel, I like what they teach and I want to become closer to them. How do I do that? I maybe want to become a disciple. Is a disciple a formal relationship, or how is that structured from the side of the student, and how does the guru accept or begin to help someone who feels that way, and how the two communicate?
People who are devoted choose the object of their veneration. You choose your guru. Who's the example that inspires me? That's my choice. I choose it through my inspiration. And I make myself into a disciple or a shishya by following the example that inspires me. And then I cultivate that relationship as any student would cultivate a relationship with their teacher by asking the questions that will lead me to greater understanding. So as I ask questions, how do you sit? How do you breathe? How do you recite? How do you understand? How do you explain? What's the bhava? What's the attitude? What's the intensity with which you are worshiping? As a disciple, I cultivate that relationship through the questions I ask. When there is an appropriate circumstance, there will be a coming together of various disciples and the examples that they wish to follow. When it's appropriate, we'll come in, you'll fly from Barbados or from Australia or from Zurich or from wherever you are around the world because it's meaningful to you. And then you'll come into a closer contact where we can have a direct exchange of energy personally which we can't really have through the internet. But we get a lot. This is magnificent. This is a lot more than we had 10 years ago. 40 years ago, I had to climb each mountain physically. And when I got to the top, I said, gee, I don't think that's the example I want to follow. And I came down again. And now, with a couple of mouse clicks, people can tune in and say, hey, that's a Bob that I can relate to. This is a teaching that I can employ in my life. This is something that inspires me. This is the sadhana that I can do. And I want to come closer. So it's a lot easier today through the communication processes that we have. We are empowered to share with a much wider group, a greater congregation. So when it's appropriate, as we cultivate the relationship online, sometime it's going to be appropriate for all the devotees to come to the Devi Mandir, or to join us when we finish our 1,000-day yagya. If we make another yagya in another place, we'll invite all of our family, and whoever wants to come will come and share with us and see and what it feels like to be in the bhava zone. And get the first-hand experience. So that's the progression. And as we get more and more intimately connected, there will be a greater and greater transference of energy until the Guru will proudly say, that's my disciple. And the disciple will proudly say, that's the example that I choose to follow. Are there other questions? Hi, Wendy Ma. Hi, Sam.
Whenever we do a puja at home, is it not complete if we don't properly offer and then eat the prasad? For a beginner like me, can you please explain what we can do at home?
Sure, Wendy, take a slice of fruit and put it on the altar and say the mantra, I'm offering this fruit to you, God. And if you are so compassionate to me, you'll give me the prasad. And when you finish the puja, you and Sam can split a slice of apple. And say, this came from God's worship. We're eating the fruit of our worship. We gave it to God with so much respect and love. And see, now we get to share the love of God. That's what we're eating. Every time you sit down for a meal, Wendy, and Sam too, say a little prayer. Thank you, God, for giving me this food. Jnana vairagya siddhartam. In order to achieve the ultimate attainment of perfection of wisdom and renunciation, please give me this food. Thank you. I'm remembering you, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahma-Agnam, Brahmanakutam. If you look in our cookbook, we put all the mantras for offering the food right there. So not only do you get the recipes, but you get the mantras in order to offer. Those are simple things you can do at home, Wendy Ma. Please, Gauri.
Swamiji, sometimes the fruit of our karma is not exactly what we would hope. So how do we keep from dwelling on that and just accepting that it's part of the...
Oh, we get the opportunity to tweak it and make it a little better and keep fixing it until it is what we want it to be. So now when we put forth an effort and we don't get the desired fruit from that effort, does that mean we're out of business? No, life goes on. I have other opportunities to demonstrate the same consistency, the same steadfastness, the same endurance, the same focus, the same efficiency in my next enterprise, whatever that activity is supposed to be. So I wouldn't write it off as a failure and sit there and brood about because I'm a failure. I would say, now how do I rectify this situation and how do I apply that teaching to my next situation? And let's go back to work. Break's over. I mean, how long are you going to sit and celebrate a victory? Or how long are you going to sit and brood over defeat? Karma is done, full, complete, perfect. I offered it. I got the fruits of it. Now here's the distribution of fruits according to the will of God. And next project, next sankalpa. I mean, every one of us has been through it a number of times. Yes, please.
Nanda is asking a follow-up question to what you said earlier, Swami. He's saying, dear Swami, why is it not sufficient to be just a devotee and praise the people that are more evolved than us? Do we not think we are doing this? Why is it necessary to transform ourselves to disciples? Why is it so important to transition from a devotee to a disciple?
It's not so important unless you make it important. If you are content to accept mediocrity as a way of life, stay where you are. You don't have to change. But if you are longing to reach that perfection, or longing to reach that pinnacle of perfection, then we must continue to evolve, Nandama. We'll want to. Aristotle called it an entelechy. It was an inborn, natural, prakritic urge to reach, to extend ourselves, to expand ourselves, to reach to the highest goals that we can possibly aspire to. And if for some reason an individual doesn't feel that necessity, stay where you are. There's no necessity. We are not compelling anyone else to change themselves. It is me who feels a compelling necessity to change me because I am not yet satisfied with who I am. I want to become more. In fact, in my own understanding, I won't be satisfied until I can say I am Shiva. I am not trying to diminish or destroy my ego. I am trying to expand it. I want to become the greatest egotist of all. I am God. Aham Brahmasmi. And so until I can not expand until that objective, I'm going to continue to strive. There's a compelling necessity within me that makes me want to reach out and grow more. Sorry. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Namaste. Well, our time passed very quickly tonight. That was the 4th chapter. Do we have a lot of questions left over? Do you know our next chapter is, the 5th chapter is the last chapter, and it's rather short. Can we carry them forward until Monday? Oh, wonderful. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us in this discussion because it's really an important vow for all of us in our sadhana. And all of your questions are extremely appropriate. Even Karen, please excuse me, there are no foolish questions, there's only stupid answers. So don't worry about that. And thank you all for joining us. And over the weekend, we've got a beautiful weekend planned. Srima is going to sing tomorrow night. We'll have our Chandi Homa on Sunday morning. And we'll see you all again, especially on Monday night. We'll complete the last chapter of the text and go on to the rest of our questions, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Namaste. Thank you all.